Hi, this is Penelope's Pitstop. I'm Penny, and in this issue, issue 20, we're going to be doing the pilot seat and control panel, and I absolutely promise you this is going to be an absolutely amazing issue.
For those who fought in the Battle of Britain, it was a battle for survival. For the free world, it was a breathless moment in history. For failure would have plunged mankind into a new dark age. Never have so many owed so much to so few.
So, hello, welcome to issue 20, pilot seat and control panel. So let's begin as always with a parts checklist. So we have piece 1 is a cockpit LED circuit board and cable. So I know some people will get excited because they like the electronics. Piece 2 is the pilot seat. Piece 3 is the back support for the pilot seat. Now part 4 is a sprue, and that consists of 6 pieces, actually 7 pieces. Cockpit details A to F, A, B, C, D, E, F, but part D was actually 2 of them. And then we have piece 5, which is the pilot seat frame. Part 6 is cockpit details G to F, G to K, sorry, that's going backwards, isn't it? And then 7 is seat edging, and I will confess, when I saw that piece, because it's orange, it sticks out and you see it first. And I thought, no way is that the seat, because it's way too small. It looks like a 1:72 scale seat, and it also looks a little bit lopsided, so I thought, oh, it's damaged. But obviously once you check the parts you realise it's not the seat. And then that leaves 8, which is a cable label. That's an interesting phrase, isn't it? Cable label. So we're obviously going to be labelling our cables. In other part works they label them for you, but now they're going to make us do the work. And then that leaves some screws, which is 3 kb 1.6 by 5 millimeter screws, of which 1 is spare. So let's have a look at what we have. So we need piece 25, that's 20-5, which is here. Now it actually looks like it's 2 pieces because it's got that silver bit in the middle, but it is actually 1 piece, and that is plastic, so be very careful, that can snap. And then we need to combine that with piece E, which is a piece off the framework, which is going to be this piece. I'm trying to get this in the correct orientation. Again, these are not labelled, so we need to cut this off the sprue, and that will be cut across there. And then this is the tricky bit. There are actually 2 locating pins on the end there, so don't cut there as it would be tempting to. We need to just leave that locating peg. In fact, what I'm actually going to advise you to do is cut right on the end of the sprue, like that, and then cut the end of this sprue off. Then remove the sprue. Then you can come in in fact, actually it's tried to snap it there, so there we go, it's just done the job for us. And then this one we can now come in, so make sure you leave that, so you see you've got 2 locating tabs on the ends. So this is going to go in on this side. There's a locating tab there, and that's going to marry up with this locating hole, and you see there's a little cut out, and that will go in like that, and that will create 2 sides of a triangle. Okay, so let's get our glue. Now it's plastic on plastic, so we're a little bit lucky. We can use our brush glue, or if you haven't got a brush you can use a cocktail stick, but do be careful where you apply this. So I'm going to apply a little bit on the peg and just a tiny bit surrounding, just where it's going to make contact with the flat bit, and then we can apply that onto there like that, and keep it flat because I suspect this is going to be an absolute precise angle. So if you squeeze it too much on one side, that gap is going to increase. If you press it down too much at the bottom, that distance will decrease. So right, I'm going to pop that down, and I just want to let that dry for a little bit. That is stuck, but I want it to, it's a very delicate bit, so I'm just going to have a very quick look. Maybe there's something else we can work on while that's drying, and yes there is. So what I'm going to do now then, I'm going to actually skip to stage 4, and that's just going to give us a little bit more time to let this dry. So in stage 4 we need piece 2, which is the pilot seat, and we need piece 3, which is the pilot seat backing, and that's going to go on like that, and that's a really good fit, actually really good fit. So glue, and I think the only points of contact we're going to have are these actual locating tabs. So one small dab onto each of the pegs. No point putting any more glue on, because looking at these raised holes there aren't going to be any more contact points, so all you would be doing is wasting glue. So that is on there, and that's not sticking well, so I'm just going to apply a little bit more just on the tops of those holes. So maybe we should have put the glue in the holes. That's fine. We've not messed up so much that we've got glue everywhere. So there we go. See where I've applied the glue? It's just on the contact points, just where it makes contact with this piece, and there we go. So give that about 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and that's perfect. So I'm now going to leave that there. So now we'll go back to stage 2, because I think that would have given that, yeah, I don't think that's coming out now. So stage 2, so we now need to cut part A from the frame. So looking at the frame, that's part A and that's part B. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut A and B off, and the reason for that is, if you look at these frames and you look at the way that they're going onto there, you know we're going to need part B soon. So there's the part I think we're going to use. Plus, if we have got this wrong, we've actually got to use, if I've got my A and my B muddled up, I'm going to use the next part anyway. So that's there. So this is what I think is part A, and that needs to go. So we've got this, the piece with the silver piece on it, put that to the front, and then we need to place the part A with the locating, I'm going to call it a locating peg, that's pointing forwards, and that is going to go one hole at the top there and one hole at the bottom, and it says check the fit on the side of the framework assembly. There we go. It has, note when correctly positioned, has raised mouldings on the side that faces the framework. Right, so let's check that for raise. So we do indeed have this correct, because there you see it's slightly raised On the other side it's flat, so that's given us a point of reference. So onto there like that, and then we will glue that in. And I think the way I'm going to glue that is I'm going to apply the glue to the pegs on this triangular piece. This is still going to be very fragile. Even after gluing that piece on, it will still be quite fragile. But I think that once we add the other side on, it will add quite a lot of strength. And if anybody knows anything about geometry or maths, you may have noticed there's a lot of triangles or triangular shapes. Triangles are actually extremely strong shapes, and you see them a lot in bridges, and they are, because they only have the three sides, it gets all three sides working against the force. And I am noticing many triangles. And when this is actually attached to something, even though it's very fragile, it bends, but once it's attached it will actually become very strong. So as predicted, or as I've just thought, and you probably all thought it, piece B is needed for stage 3, and that's going on the other side. So that's going to go in exactly the same way. We have the raised bit at the bottom, no raised bit on this side, and I will glue that in exactly the same way as I have done with the other side, because that worked really well. So there's no need to change a winning formula. So dab of glue, dab of glue, look for the raised side, make sure the pointy bit is the same on both sides, and I can feel that getting stronger there already. Okay, so obviously normally after 3 comes stage 4, but we have already done stage 4 and that is now solid as a rock. Right, so the next stage that we have, it's very hard to see, but stage 5, there's 2 holes in there, one there and one there. There you go, I've got just a good angle there. And then we have, yeah, that's all we've got. So this is obviously some kind of seat adjustment. That is going to go into there like so. So I'm guessing this is how the seat is adjusted, which is something I've often wondered about. When I drive buses, quite often I have to move my seat because my legs are longer, or I'm a smaller person than the person who was in before me. And I thought, well, what happens if you get into somebody else's Spitfire? Or what if you're not a standard size? So obviously this is the seat adjustment. So this, you can see how this can perhaps move it forwards and backwards, not up and down. So that goes into there, and we glue the pegs on A and B when we are confident that that's fitted. So I'm just going to apply the glue just to the pegs. So a bit of glue just on the ends. Don't need to go any more than halfway up, and we certainly don't need a lot of glue because that will just slow the drying time down. And it looks like we're going to be doing some work on this particular piece for a while, so we want that glue to be stuck as quickly as possible. And there it is, it's stuck. So I wonder if there'll be something going through that. Right, so stage 6, we need to be gluing on, we need a piece called piece G. The only flaw I found with this, they do actually give us the names of pieces, but when they come on a sprue they don't. So this is the correct orientation. So piece G, in fact, it's actually a completely different piece. So let's orientate this as per the magazine. So G is this piece here. So let's have a close look at the part before we... Okay, that's brilliant. So we want, the end is actually that circle silver piece, so that can come off, and that's got a little tab on the end, and on the other side it's this circle as well. There's no locating tabs or anything that comes off the side, and this is almost certainly going to need tweezers. So what we want to do is taking the left side of the seat, that piece is going into there like so, and we'll manipulate this, and that's going to go in like that. So that's then, you see another triangle come into place. Yeah, so we've got the triangle there, and then we've got this triangle there. Yeah, we've got triangles there. This is really a strong piece. In reality, it's a really strong piece, because obviously these parts will be made of metal, and it's just triangles and triangles and triangles, but this will be rather strong, I can assure you. So let's put glue on the peg. That's a long peg, so I don't really need to apply glue more than about halfway down. And then this one I'm just applying glue just on the very tip. Obviously we don't need this to be strong because it's not actually going to be flying up at 1,000,000 feet shooting down German planes, but I think you will be surprised. So I'm going to hold that for about 5 seconds, and that's come out. Right, so 2, 3, 4, 5, and now that's stayed in place. So this is actually not a perfect fit, so it's trying to spring back. We've just pulled it forwards a bit to glue these in, so it might be worthwhile using a very good super glue because it's constantly pulling on that, but that's actually fine. So the next piece we want then is piece H. That's H for hotel. Now we have a slight small reduction in size on the end. It looks like, for example, an old-fashioned handbrake on a car where you'd push the button and then you release the handbrake, but this side is a circular piece, so it actually looks exactly the same as the other side, but with an extension on the end. So I would suspect that this is the release for this seat adjustment. There you go, it does look just like a handbrake from an old car. Those of you that are around about my age or older will probably be smiling right now and going, yeah, it does. Those that are younger haven't got a clue what I'm on about. And I've got to be honest with you, it's your loss, not mine. But yeah, I do remember they used to have these little buttons on the end, and I remember that, I know most cars are still the same, but if you applied the handbrake without pressing that button, it used to make the most god-awful ratchet noise. Oh, it's terrible. So, but that was the best you had. So I'm going to hold that for about 5 seconds. 3, 4, 5, and that is now in place. So there is the pilot seat. So we have one more piece to complete the pilot seat, which is the piece that I thought was the pilot seat when I first opened. So can you see that's about a 1:72 scale seat, roughly, and and it's also skew width. So I was kind of getting ready to complain. Now there's two locating tabs, there's one locating tab. So you see this bit has a tab and then there's a hole there. So that tells us that it's going to go in that way. So let me just see what that is again. It's just called seat edging. So I've never seen anything like that. So if anybody knows anything about that seat edging, is it something the pilots put in just to add a bit of comfort? Or was it actually designed like that? I don't know. So it's plastic on plastic and there's quite a large area. So I'm just going to put some glue. I'm just going to dot it around. I'm going to bring the glue up the side to the top, and you can see there's a recess where the edging is going to go. So we'll just put a little bit in there, but I'm not going up to the, well, I'm not purposely going up to the edge. So, but I'm just putting the odd few dots around. But as you can see, it's very, actually that might be too thick, but I have tried to keep the glue thin. We really don't need to flood the area with glue, because all it's going to do is make a big mess. So we'll push that into place. 2, 3, 4, 5, and if I've applied too much glue, my finger would now be stuck, which it isn't. So yeah, so there you go. I'm really keen to know what that edging is all about, but it's not actually stuck down well. So I think it's not gone back far. There we go. It hadn't gone back, so make sure that the tab does come through the back there, otherwise it won't sit flush with the seat. There we go. So there's the seat. So yes, that's it. So that's the end of that stage. So on to stage 9, and it's time to play with some electronics. So let's unwind this. So as well as this piece 2001, this is just a circuit board. There's nothing else coming in yet. So let's see if there's anything in here to give away what it's going to do. LED1 PCB V1.1, LED1 R2, LED2, LED3. So it looks like it's going to control 3 LEDs with a little resistor on each one. I don't know if you can see that. Yes, you can. Just so LED1, so I'm going to guess that's some kind of resistor. R1, R2, LED2. Oh, that is the LEDs. It's those little micro ones. So you've got a tiny LED there, and R1, I guess that's resistor for LED1. You've got R2, which I guess is a resistor for LED2, and R3 and LED. Now, why do you need a resistor? The resistor actually reduces the current to the light. Now, most LEDs, most like 3mm and 5mm LEDs, they will usually blow 3 or 4 volts. Because any more power they just can't take it. Now if you have, say for example, a 9-volt power supply and you have a 1 or 2 volt battery, you can see that that's going to blow. So what the resistor does is it reduces the amount of voltage. It kind of wastes electricity, it takes some of it away, and then that just only leaves a small amount going to the LED, just enough to power it. Now these small ones, they take even less than 1 volt. Some of these will blow on about 0.2 volts. So those resistors are extremely important, otherwise as soon as we switch on they will light and then they will just stop again. So we are going to take piece number 19.4. This came with issue 19, excuse me, the last issue. And what we need to do is we need to place this into there. So the wire's coming through this notch, and then there's 2 holes there, and that's going to be screwed into place like that. Can you see that? So I'm going to load up my screwdriver just with 1 screw. We only want the 1 screw in just to get it to hold down, and I don't want to screw this screw all the way in. And right, so when we do metal screws, we tighten them as tight as we can. When we screw things into plastic, we talk about how we want it to be in nice and tight, but not too tight, because we could break the plastic. This circuit board is much more fragile than plastic, so we don't even want to do this as hard as we would a piece of plastic. So let me show you what I'm going to do here. This is very brittle and quite soft, and I could very easily break this. So what I'm going to do is I'm pushing down gently on the circuit board. You don't want to touch the circuit board too much, because you sweat and things, and you've got static. But once we get close, can you see how that screw, I don't know, you can't see, right, that screw isn't close to the circuit board, but as I get close I'm going to slow down. Right, now I don't think I've screwed that down enough, which is perfect. So as I get close, right, that I would say is absolutely perfect. Do you see how there's just a very slight amount of movement in there, but the circuit board's not shaking? So we know that that's not been screwed down too tight. There's a little gap under there, so it's not screwing it down, it's just holding it in place. So that's all you need for that. So don't be tempted to screw it down really tight. It is a bit dodgy when you have to screw into circuit boards, but that's the way it goes. So the next stage is going to be parts 1902, 1903, which suggests from the number that they came last week. And now it becomes clear why we have the cockpit in 2 pieces. This is actually a black piece which will not allow light to shine through. This is actually clear plastic that's been painted, so that will allow light bleed. So this is one of the few occasions when we actually want light bleed. Quite often we don't want that light bleeding through. So as we place that on, we can see it just looks fairly plain, doesn't it? There's a little bit of shiny to represent the glass of the cockpit panels, but that's absolutely fine. So that's stage 10 complete. Stage 11, we need this piece, and what we are going to do is place, got to think which way this goes. Right, so this is coming in from behind, and what I'm calling behind, you see the head, this, I think this now looks like a traffic beacon from the side. So this sits behind, this juts out further than the rudder control, and that's where the circuit board is going to sit, is behind there. But the actual the cockpit panel is going to sit in the front. Now there is no easy way to know, there's no markings or anything, however there is for the cockpit. So this, the position of this will be set by the screw pin holes there, so that won't move once that's in. So we want the KB 1.6 by 4mm screws, and they came in last week's issue. And I've got some exciting news for you guys. I have just had a little quick skip on the issue, on the next stage, and I don't like to do spoilers, but let's just say I'm going to be turning my bedroom lights out shortly. So I've got too many screws there, so I just want to put some back in the bag. So 3 screws, load one up ready, and then we're going to place this back on again. We're going to look how lovely that is. That's flush. That's really a lot of attention's gone into that. I'm really pleased with that. So take a random hole. I'm going to go for this one because it's the closest one to the middle, and I'm just going to screw just a little bit in. That's fine. So I'm just double checking. Yeah, I'm just double checking the screws. KB 1.6 by 4. KB 1. Yes, they are definitely the ones that came in last week's issue. KB. Sorry, guys. It's better to find out you're doing it wrong at this stage than to have finished it. So KB 1.6 by 4mm, so they are definitely the ones from last week, 1905. And just to show you the magazine here, they are black. I wouldn't have thought it would have made a difference because I don't think they will be on show, but they're using black screws, so I will use the black screws. There are spares if we get to come a cropper with them. So right, so that screw's almost in, and then this screw can go all the way, and because it's going into plastic, we just screw it until it wants to naturally stop, which is there. Okay, and then what we do is we just check the fit, and there's no movement there, so I don't feel the need to screw that any further. Okay, so the next stage is stage 12, and we're going to need this part that we got in a previous issue, which is this one. Hooray, everyone says. So we know when this comes out we're going to be playing with electronics, so if you haven't got batteries in this, refer to an earlier issue where I explain how to do this. Just take the screw out, put the batteries in. Always make sure it's switched to off. I'm not going to open this up because it's got branded batteries in it, and I don't want to get in trouble for advertising. So what we're going to do now is we're going to plug this in. Now you see that the 2 holes, they're actually off center, and then the plug there is off center. If you did try to plug it in the wrong way, it won't go because it's got the shape of it, it's got a little bit on the side. So I'm going to place it in the correct way, and be careful, because just because you're placing it in the right way doesn't mean that those little cables aren't twisted. So let me just go and turn my bedroom light out. It is daylight as I'm filming this, so we may not get the full effect, but let's turn my work light out. I think that's going to work, isn't it? So 3, 2, 1. Oh, look at that. That is amazing. That's beautiful. Oh, wow. So we know that that LED board works. Sorry, I don't normally get emotional over bits like this, but do you know what, this build, we're only 20 issues in. Is it 20 issues? Yeah, we're 20 issues in, but not only am I enjoying a build, an iconic build, something that I know a little bit about, but I kind of feel I'm getting into the mind of the Spitfire pilots. I'm starting to feel what they feel. So anyway, enough about that. So the last thing we need to do is we need to take this and we need to just pop this sticker on. Past builds from Harshett suggest to me that we will know which cable this is by the colours. There won't be any other cables related to this part that are black and red. However, let's just do as we're told, and we will. Do you know what? I can't think of an easy way to do this. Ooh. Do you know, I actually do this with most of my electrical wires at home now. I have, because I've had an instance in the past where I've tried to change like a clock, pull a clock out, and I actually pulled the wrong plug thinking it was a clock radio. It turned out to be a 3D print that was like 70 hours into a 72-hour print, and the print just stopped dead. So I've always labelled my wires since then anyway. So this has now got a label on it. Is there any more to do in this issue? Oh, lots more to do. So brilliant. So there's your cockpit display done. So the next thing we need is this framework with the copper piping. This is 1601, and this is making me feel a bit happier because I've got all these little pieces of loose whatnots. So this is actually going to go inside there, which is now why I feel I've got that bit wrong. So that's meant to go in there, and that's not going to go. Doesn't go on the outside there. So I think I may actually have to break that piece off. I don't know if it's going to happen. Ah, there we go. So why has that done that then? It would certainly explain a lot, because I was struggling in the previous issue, wasn't I? Yeah, look. That's going to go in there perfectly. Guys, so I'm going to take a little break. What I'm going to do is I'm going to re-glue this on in the correct place. I didn't have it glued in. It was wrong. I doubted that all the time. I doubted I placed it in the right place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this bit back on. I'm going to pop those copper pipes into there. Then I'll come back to you, and then we'll pop that on. So I do apologise, and I will see you. Well, for you it will be a second. Okay, so I have repaired that, and I do apologise profusely. What had happened is it was a little bit too much. I've turned it a little bit anti-clockwise. It turns out that the peg wasn't quite in the hole properly, so I just rotated a bit, and as you can see, the pipes have gone in absolutely perfectly. So I haven't glued the pipes in. They've actually gone in that well. Unless you actually play with them, they're not going to fall out. So excuse me, I've just been running up the stairs. So let's carry on with this stage. I'm just going to pull my jumper sleeves up. I'm a little bit cold, so I put a jumper on, but I don't like long sleeves. So that's going to go on like that. So now you can see the dry fit is a good fit. It's another reason why we dry fit. Obviously it wouldn't matter so much with screws, but you see that's actually going to touch that. So that is in a better position. So We need 2 km 1.6 by 4mm screws, and because we're playing with two different sets of screws, I'm just going to check whether they came from this issue or the previous issue. So we got, yeah, so they come with this issue. So we want the screws from this issue, which are here. So they're silver countersunk screws. I think I've just got the wrong screws. Let me just check. Yes, they are the wrong screws. These are actually from the previous issue. And the way I know is because this one, no, I've already used those screws. Oh, I'm in a muddle. So I'm going to pause the camera. I'm going to check my screws. I really should have put them in the pot as I went, but I'm going to check my screws and then I will come back to you. So not checking my screws has got me in a bit of trouble there. The two packets of unopened screws that I've got are both the same length. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place these in and I'm going to screw them in, and then I'm just going to keep a really good eye on them. So a dry fit tells me that I've got to be careful of this pipe there. If it doesn't go in, it's going to trap that. So let's get a screw ready. So the implication of getting the wrong screw is that it's just not going to go in all of the way. So I'm going to go for it, being very careful, being very observant. Right, and that pipe is in the way. So just pull that back, and then that will allow that to fall into place. So I will screw one screw in from the middle, and that's fine. I've not done that tight, I've just treated this as normal, and then I'm going to pop this screw in. These are actually two different types of screws, so I may actually be replacing one. So that is gone in tight. And then we'll screw this one in. Do you know what, guys? I think they're both fine. I think they are the right length. They're both countersunk screws, and that part is in solid. So I think I've got in a muddle and ended up with the same screw twice, two packs of the same screw. So that's absolutely fine. I'm really happy with that. So that's in fine. So let's look at the next stage. It's starting to come together now, isn't it? So sorry, keep looking at the magazine. Right, so the next bit is stage 8, is the piece from stage 18, which is here. So the orientation of this is, we want this bit, which we remember is the pilot's headrest. So we know we want this inside the cab, and it will just fit into the recess in the strut. So that's going to go like that. Yes, like that. Now we've got some wires there, pipes, sorry, so they're going to want being pulled out. So now I can start to see why these holes are there, because they're obviously going to be escape routes for these pipes. So there we go. So we'll just pull those pipes out. You don't have to put them anywhere special for now, but that's slid into there perfectly. So obviously I don't want to let go because it will fall out, but it does not say anything about gluing or screwing. So I'm not happy with that pipe just yet. So, and it doesn't tell us, yes it does, Right, so we need to manipulate these pipes. So this one is going to go in the top there, like that. This one, it looks like there's a gap between them. Right, no, this one, I don't know if you can see that. This is going into the second hole. Let's use my blunt end of my cocktail stick. These will probably fall out, but they're fine for now because they may not all fall. I don't know how much room I'm going to have when I've put this in. So that is kind of stuck there. So I'm using a blade because it's thin. And we manipulate that towards the hole. Right, that's tweezers, I think. There we go, that's in. So this one goes in this lower one. Of course, if I let go of this now, they're all going to come flying out. There we go, that pipe's in. And there we go. So those pipes are in, going through the bulwark. And that looks beautiful, and that's filled those holes lovely. So the next stage is to take the piece from issue 15, and that's this piece, so we need to turn this round. So that needs to go on the outside there. Where can I hold this? Probably top and bottom. We've got wires in the way, so that's going there. The middle piece is going to slip there, and then this will clip round the back there. And once that's screwed in place, that will hold that middle strut perfectly. So I'm focusing on both ends, pushing that in place. That's now moving that middle. So you see that middle piece is now solid, and that is the cockpit almost done. Well, that part of the cockpit. So we now need KM 1.6 by 4mm screws, and we need 4 in total. So come on. So what I will do is I will put 1 in the front, 1 in the back, and then I'll go back to the front, then back to the front, back, and then I will go backwards and forwards, tightening them up. So let's handle this as little as possible. So we'll see if we can get that screw in without actually making contact with the cockpit. So that one's gone in fairly loose. And then the front one, once we get these 2 screws in, it should pretty much hold together. Right, so we've got 1 screw in there, and we've got 1 in at the front. They're not in tight because I don't want to buckle the whole thing. It probably won't buckle, but let's not take the chance. So I'm going to put this one in. That's gone in just with a couple of turns, so that's a bit suspicious to me, but that is in. Right, okay, I've done it wrong. So we actually put in, right, I'm going to take those, I'm going to leave those loose then. We actually need, I'm going to leave that 1 loose. We actually need two 4mm screws in the front, and in the back we're going to be putting the 5mm screws. So be careful not to get your screws muddled up. So that can go in nice and tight, and this is stage 15, well, the first part of stage 15. Right, then we need these screws. I think these ones, which should be slightly longer, or I've used the wrong screws elsewhere. Right, okay, bear with me one sec. KM, so this is why I keep spares. KM, no, I don't have any spares of that one. Right, so I think this lone screw, which has just fallen out, is a 5mm, and this one is a 5mm. So I think these are the correct screws. These are a little bit longer. The front is requiring 4mm screws and the rear is requiring 5mm. And when I just put the 4mm in and went to tighten it up, it was like literally a couple of screws and it was tightened. So I believe this is the 5mm one. So that 5mm's going in, this 4mm is coming out, but you notice I put the 4mm in, put the 5mm in first, just so that it holds its shape. And that can go in nice and tight now. And this one can be tightened up. Right, so we have this middle piece is solid, even though it's not been glued because it's clamped in. We have the pipes are coming through holes and they're going out through holes, as you can see there. It's actually this piece, this piece with the red bit is actually naturally falling into a hole, and then this copper pipe, I believe, no, that needs to be moved. There is a hole for it to go through. I'm sorry, you probably won't see this. So that's going up through that hole. There, you can see it poking out there. That's where it needs to lead to. And we've still got a hole there for something. I don't know if you can see the cocktail stick poking through there. So they've got that hole there and there's one there. So that's going to be, I suspect that might be the seat. So yeah, I think everything is tied up there. I'm really actually loving these copper pipes. I think that is absolutely amazing. It might be a daft thing to get excited about, but it's really exciting actually. So stage 16 is actually to check this pipe there is in there, and I have already done that. And ironically, stage 17, it says at the rear of the cockpit, fit the ends of the pipes into those holes. So I have done that. I did that because I wanted this to be nice and neat, but actual fact, that's what you have to do. So you see these copper pipes, you've got the holes on this support, and that's what it's for. It's to pop those holes into. So obviously this bit probably isn't going to be seen so much, but those pipes running through will be seen. So look at the amazing amount of detail in there. That is absolutely amazing. Every issue I'm more and more amazed. So that is the completed work. The frames and bulwarks of the cockpit have been fitted together. The pilot seat has been fitted to a supporting frame. The remaining parts on frames 2004 and 2006 will be used in the next issue. So we have these parts. Now this looks like some kind of wire clamp. I'm going to clamp a wire down perhaps. We also have these, which looks to me like it might be some kind of joystick. So I suspect we won't fit those until after we fit the seat. So let's have a little play. And I think that that will be coming in from the bottom. And that will go something like that. I'm still intrigued by that orange bit on the seat, but isn't that amazing? So let me have a play with this. Is that going to go on to there? No, because there's no screw holes for it, unless we need to put another plate on there, but we're getting there, aren't we? Oh, this is so amazing. Wow, 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 wow. So I'm very happy because we did have lots of half-made pieces, which we have now started to piece together. So we've gone from about 7 pieces to 3. So that's fantastic. So I'm going to end I nearly said I'm going to end the stream. I'm going to end the video there. Now next week, if you are like me and you're a subscriber, you'll get 4 issues together, and the latest pack will be 19, 20, 21 and 22. I'm actually going to make a double issue for the next one. Those of you that are subscribers will know why I'm combining 22 with 21. For those of you that don't subscribe, I will leave it as a surprise for you. Hi, I'm Penny. This is Penelope's Pitstop. Is that the right way round?